So, Ajay, we are live and we'll just wait for people to join in.
You don't mind me tugging along with my cup of tea here and there.
No, absolutely, please.
It also shows to everybody it's good to be healthy and not have milk teas and coffee.
I am a total tea addict, literally. But yeah.
I am a green tea and Darjeeling tea addict.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, we have people joining in. Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the Finance Story LinkedIn Live series. So, over the last month, we've spoken to approximately 5 founders and managing partners of leading CA firms in India to understand their journey of how they've built CA practices in India, to know what has been their biggest success, challenges, and how they actually foresee their practice and CA firms in general shaping up in the years to come. So, 2024 and onwards seems to be a fantastic time for India, and it's very important to understand what growth can CA firms expect and how big can CA firms think and what can they actually achieve. So to help us get a perspective on this, we have with us Ajay Sethi, founder and managing partner of ASA. So, Ajay needs no introduction, but I'll just give you a little bit of a summary. ASA started in 1991, and fast forward to 2024, they are a leading professional services firm in India with over 1,000 plus team members, 33 partners, and they've recently joined the Bakertilly network. So, Ajay, thanks a ton for joining in, and thank you so much for your time.
Very welcome, Chantal. It's always a pleasure to chat to you. And I must tell you, in equal reciprocation, I'm delighted to see you keep on going this finance story. I met you when you had just come up with an idea, and to see you taking it to this side is a pleasure. So keep on doing well.
Thank you so much. Means a lot. And everyone who's joined in, please ask your questions, type in your questions. We will address every single question. It's your chance to actually ask Ajay whatever you want because he's built a fabulous practice. Okay. So, Ajay, my first question to you is can you take us back to 1991 and tell us why and how did you start ASA? Did you come from a family of CAs where, and that's how the idea came up and you said, hey, let me go for a practice? And how were you at like 25, 26 when you started? What was Ajay like?
Well, I was like any other person who should be 26. I enjoyed participating in debates and discussions which were sometimes fruitless, and I had ambitions and ideas. My desire to do CA wasn't there. It was a fluke. I come from, our parents of our generation, they come from the colonial background. So for them, a job, knowing your English well and getting a good job, these are the two aspects which were important to my father. And from his perspective, you become a doctor, engineer, architect, and if you're not good at anything, you become a chartered accountant or lawyer. That was my dad's perspective. And I wanted to do business. So obviously, he didn't like the ideas. He thought another person was going to waste time and become a club member and then be seen playing rummy and bridge and all. I kept pushing my dad that let's do this, but he avoided the issue. And finally, a friend of mine pulled me. He was doing CA, so he pulled me into training, and I went and did the training. And then I gave my exams, and then I qualified, and then I was pulled in Anderson. And when I joined Anderson, which was because I was on the merit list. I'm not boasting, I'm just telling you facts. So I was on the merit list, so they pulled me in, and I spent some time there. And I thought that, yes, now the profession is changing, and this is a great time to do a venture. So at the age of 26, if you ask me, what we call startup today was what me. I have no chartered accountant in my family. My father was a banker, as I let out earlier. And I thought, since I'm an accountant, let me get into practice. It'll give some release to my entrepreneurial desires. So I started from Delhi in what is called a barsati or rooftop room with asbestos sheets, 8 by 10 room. and no idea that it will come to this point. If I was to say that I had a clear vision that is going to come here, I must confess I didn't. At that time, I was newly married. I married early. The whole idea was to impress my wife that I will also make some money with my great intelligence. Well, I don't know whether I made or not in the first 3 years, but I scared the life out of her because I blew up all her collections very quickly. So that's it. That's the start. But it has moved forward very well. I found like-minded people. I think my biggest skill actually is that I'm able to spot wonderful people and I'm able to convince them to do things together. And in all fairness to me also, I think I'm also very fair to my partners and the people around me that I don't try to pull fast ones. Honesty, I think, has paid me in the long run.
That's amazing. That's well said too. So Ajay, I know it's 33, 34 long years. Okay. Right. So if you want to go back, rewind a little bit and take us through some key developments that shaped the practice. You said the first 3 years was scary. Okay. Can you break down the key factors that led to the growth? When did you have major partners joining in? How was the first 3 years, and then when did the practice actually take off? Because many people are going through similar situations, so it would be great to know your journey a little bit.
So I think, actually the first 3 years, if now in hindsight, I mean, when you do a little bit of success, and I'm not saying that I'm successful, I'm simply saying when you do success, then when you look back, there's always nice stories to pick up, which is not the case when you don't do well. But I think the first 3 years were the best learning years because they grounded me. Coming from Anderson, I suddenly realized it meant nothing. The real world is different. Competition was high. I had no visions about the profession changing or not changing. Forget that. I just had to survive. So I met some very interesting people as I went along. Uh, and I do want to mention there was one, of course, I owe a lot to Mr. K.N. Mimani, EY. He guided me. He gave me little work, but what he did was he guided me. And that guidance was very valuable. And as luck would have it, there was another Marwadi chartered accountant, Mr. B.R. Maheshwari, president of the institute. I went to him, sir, give me some work. He says, I don't have much work to give you, but I'll give you some advice. So I thought, here, somebody trying to make a youngster get out of the room. But it was very valuable advice. He told me that, Ajay, listen, I'll give you 3 tips. One, if you are not changing your shoes every 6 to 8 months, means you're not running enough. At that time, you had to go in buses. I didn't have the privilege of moving around in just cars. And you had to do physical meetings. Second, he said that what is now called in a famous movie, all is well factor. He says, don't discuss your problems outside. You have a problem, sort it out yourself. Go to your family, say everything is building up well, all is well. Things are, and if your clients ask you, colleagues ask, don't complain because complaining is negative vibe coming back to you. And third thing he told me is never fall for this trap that you will take the lower fee today and one day you'll become great. So these are things which he told me which stuck in my head till date. And this is one of the best advices I can give to any youngster that you will start, it'll be tough start. And there are ways to overcome. We'll come to those issues also. But some of the things, changing steps in my movement up as a firm, one was the first thing was realizing that I didn't know everything. I was good on taxation side at that time. And I knew that you can't just build up a practice as a generalist. That was my feeling on the matter. Maybe Anderson had influenced me. So I had very clear thoughts that to bring in good partners. I think that was the wisdom which helped me a lot. I've started looking for partners right from day one. And I got fantastic partners. Most of them are still here. My first partner, Rajiv, is still here. I mean, most of them, somebody is 25 years, somebody is 20 years, somebody is 15 years. So the idea was respecting their work and letting them run their domain separately. The second thing we did was we did not go for this model of a cost center. You know, you kill and you eat what you kill kind of a concept. I don't believe in that concept. I think if you come together as a family, then you must have a sharing ratio and it should be from the global pool, not these split false partnerships. So that was the second learning. Then we went along. I also realized that Indian practices were not growing very well. And I realized what was causing the trouble. family-owned structures. People were going to the big four, whereas I personally, even the family-owned structures I met, I found them extremely high on wisdom and very good in their work. But the person was not feeling that he's going to grow there. So it was not merit rising in the organizations. And if somebody was growing old, he would be there till 80, 85, 90, and then everything would collapse. Some of the fantastic firms of my era have all disappeared or just gone away. No succession planning. So as I went along, the other lesson I learned is keep family out, at least in my model. And I know some very well run today's family-owned structures which are run fantastically well practices. So I'm not decrying anybody. I'm simply saying in my model, I picked up non-family owned structures, clear policies to run it, and everybody retires at the age of 65, and no exception for the founder. So when you have linear rules, people believe in you. Because if you are just going to keep rules which are going to be self-centric, then it defeats the very purpose. So these are some of the initial learning. Then getting into a foreign market, which was Japan for me. We got into Japan and we understood how much honesty matters in Japan and what straightforward being all about is. You don't have to give a perfect answer all the time. You can turn to a client and say, I need to research this and come back to you with sensible answers. We understood global business at a very young start. I think it was only 5 years into the business we understood this. Then tying up with Japanese counterparts, looking internationally and tying up with other people. So we understood how to partner domestically and outside for self growth and for the other person growth. So, like this, there were lessons. I think amongst the more interesting lessons which I picked up was while I was building up all these great ideas, I also realized that one day I have to vacate this, what I have created, because that was the game plan, which is still the game plan. So if I could go rogue. I was 35 when I started speaking about changing the name from an individual to an abbreviation, taking away the personality out of the equation. So I was 35. So I had, when you're 35, you never imagine you'll ever grow 60 or 65.
Yeah.
And I have grown now. I'm turning 60 this year. So when you look at this whole thing, I realize it's better to have a check and balance system on the managing partner also, including myself. So I created 28 years back an independent board of directors, which are people, stalwarts, advisors, who cannot be swayed by my word or anybody's word, people who have done very well in life. And I report very clearly to them what I have done, what I have not done, and the board reports to them. That will be the check and balance for my successors as much as on me. So you see, a very unique structure fell into place. And the beauty is, while we hadn't tied up within any international network earlier, 70% of my clients were foreign companies. Now that's a paradox. I guess we would be amongst India's good firms, maybe top 10, I suppose. But none, without a network being there, speaks volumes of the effort we put in and the partners and all, how we came together with a single mission. So I think a lot has to do with clear thinking and planning for the future.
That's excellent. That's amazing. So, Ajay, if I have to break this down a little bit, okay, okay, can you break the three for everyone watching, okay, the 3 decades into phases? Like, okay, I know at the age of 20, 35, you thought about board of directors, which is 28 years ahead. Like, oh my God, that's no one thinks of stuff like that. So, can you just break down a little more? See, like 1991 to 1995, this is what we did. 95 to 2000, this is what we did. And can you just take us ahead in like 5 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're giving me a job to think for 5 minutes, but anyway, I'll try to come impromptu on
You
this.
can take your time.
So
Take
I
your time.
think the 90s were more or less a period of experimentation. We were just experimenting with ideas.
Yeah.
As people were coming in, I was saying, I won't do this, you do this, we'll do this. We'll worked in the basement, then we were thrown out of the basement, and so many interesting things were happening. Experimentation word describes the 90s period for us. We started in 91. 2000, we rode the wave with the market. We were getting more settled, so foreign clients started increasing, with Japan leading the way in a big way. Our visits started going up. Board got created. The importance of budgeting systems started falling into place. So we started planning with SOPs in mind. The processes started guiding our thinking process. And 2000 to 2000 and I guess 2005, let's say, to 15, was the period when we went into massive expansion mode. That's where we started thinking that why are we thinking in terms of small components? Why can't we think multiple? So we went for mergers. We expanded the portfolio. We looked at things very differently. Uh, Giving and shedding shares, we realized is not a big deal as long as the pie keeps on expanding. So that was the period of very fast expansion. And 2015 onwards to a period about now, I think we have been playing both. Now we are doing everything at the same time. We're experimenting with new ideas. Market is changing. We are consolidating at the same time. Whatever we had done earlier, what we should do, weaknesses, throwing away commoditized products, how to replace with high-end services. So we have started playing with everything at the same time. And as our clients were going international, the need for an international network was felt. I mean, that started coming into play. So, which I can expand if you want it later. So we started saying that, listen, it's time to go with a bigger flow as we so as you can see, whatever we had been doing in bits and pieces, processes, experimentation, consolidation, everything is fallen into place. And now, frankly speaking, I'm doing so many things at the same time that I'm wondering why I didn't keep the age at 60 to retire rather than 65.
That's great. Okay, so we have this question from Nishchit. Okay, so Nishchit says it will be a part of our other question. I'll just take it up. So, take us on a specialization versus general practice. If you could, yeah, elaborate on this aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, depending on where you are, if you are going to be, see, there is a room for general practice in, so first of all, general practice in a small town versus a big town. If you're in a small town, you have no choice but to be a generalist for the time being. I'm talking tier two and tier three cities because they'll expect you to have an answer for everything. So that's the starting point. In big cities also, depending on what your target audience is. Now, they might be clients, let's say mid segment and small segment players, who would want to deal with only one person. And today, I mean, chartered accountants, end of the day, and lawyers and other fellow professionals, they are very knowledgeable people. It's not that it's difficult to be a generalist, and they know when to plug in a higher talent. So as long as you have the skill to know when to take it to a specialist and when to take your client through the issues, you can play with it. But remember, your target audience should be clear. You cannot be a, if you're targeting clients like Nestle and HLL, you can't be a generalist. But if you're targeting small segment, because remember that's a market also. Restaurant chain coming up, a startup is coming up. They want good people and they don't want to go to very heavy, expensive firms. So there is a room for you to play, but then you should identify it. If you're going in that segment, then being a generalist is pretty good. Specialization is the name of the game for the future. It has actually evolved if you see it. If you want me to take you through the evolution process, I can briefly tell you in very
Yeah.
quick terms.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
I started the practice, there was this, and the generation before me, when we came into the office as article trainees, the first job we were given was a directory, telephone directory, and a calculator. And we were told, total up the first 10 pages or something. It sounds very simple, it drove you mad. You'll do the total of the first page, and the guys had it written. And you'll go mad, keep on trying to get that one or two which was going out. And it won't work. And only thing the basic thing you were trained to do was fast calculation on the calculator because that was expected from you. Now imagine the generation before me, which was given a directory without a calculator. And so that was the period we are talking about when it was about compiling accounting information. That was the generation. That was the main thing people wanted from you. And there was everything was related to tax. So you had multiple tax files. One person would set up an HUF, mother's name, father's name. There were 100 files, and that was the practice. That was what a great practice was all about, compiling and moving information. And I must say, at that time, clients were also different. It was reverse planning of how much taxes you'll pay and therefore what will come into the finances. And then the generation changed. From there, we became, we started doing checks and controls. It's a different thing. Regulations were still weak, but we were understanding the importance of checks and controls. And foreign companies, the multinationals were coming in. And then came in the period of specialization. Tax broke into advisory and litigation. That further broke into international. Each of these broke into international and domestic. And within international, it broke into transfer pricing, expatriate, corporate. So you see, each was breaking down, which is what is the current shape and structure. You look at assurance, broke into risk advisory, broke into financial accounting advisory, broke into due diligence, ESG, and it's continuously breaking down. So assurance, which is the starting point of audit, has broken into multiple areas which are specialized now. So specialization is great because it also helps you to tie up with fellow professionals and focus on niche areas. And that niche areas helps you to get better fee. So that's the other part about it.
Okay. Nishchit, I hope this answers your question. He also has another question which says, Sir, there's a small size CA practice is all about one man show. So, how to break the notion and create a corporate style practice?
There is no other way except giving your people, empowering your people with shares as you go along if you want to break the notion. And first of all, there's no harm. Some of the topmost lawyers in India, you talk about lawyers like Mukul Rohtgi and all, they are one man show. And there's no harm. There's a battery of people who's. So if you're very good in what you do, there is no shame in admitting to it. If you're good, you're good. But if you really genuinely want to uh, bring it up and take it into a higher structure, not for the purpose of showing to the world. If you believe you're good, you take that to the people. But if you feel that no, I feel a little suffocated in this image, then it's for you to start tying up with the right people and take them into partnership. Now these should be true partnership, not the false structures we have had earlier. Sleeping partners for the purpose of getting an audit or something. That is not a growth oriented story. If you want real growth, share your profit, and you will see that the people will start trusting you much more better. But that is a whole chapter of practice management.
Yes, that's well answered. So, Ajay, I have this question, right? So, if you have to start a CA firm, say today, okay, how would you start your practice? Assuming that you want to grow big, right on the, on India's wave right now, which is actually India is going in an upward direction. The world is looking at it in a different way. How would you start it to scale, to really scale? And how long would you take? You took 33 years to build a 1,000 member firm, which is a very big deal at the moment, right? But do you think CA firms of today should they think 33 years, or that's possible to do it in the next 10 years? Like, what's your take?
So I mean, on a personal level, if you had asked me the question, if I was taken back in time, what I would do nothing different. I think I'm very satisfied with whatever God has brought in
Yeah.
my direction, my partner's direction. So that's a different question. But to answer your question, what if it was today I was to
Yeah.
start off? First of all, uh, I would probably not have started on my own at all because now is a period of collaborations and uh, coming to and the younger lot is much more entrepreneurial than at my time. So finding like-minded people to come and take risks together would have been an easier job instead of hunting down the right partner and convincing them. You remember, I have partners down south also, and convincing them that this Punjabi out here is not going to con you. I mean business. So today's date, everybody is more attached to each other. Second thing I would have done differently would have been I would have probably not looked at traditional areas. I would have looked at tax advisory more closely, ESG more closely, digital services more closely. I would have looked at a different set of services. And I think assurance, the audit area, I would have looked at it the most closely because what we are feeling, the thing is, I've seen a lot of people say, let's not get into the test function because it's very high risk. Well, whatever is high risk ultimately develops into high money. And as lesser and lesser people get into this, and as Big Four also shed work which goes along because they cannot hold on to it forever, this area will become a huge practice area. All you have to do is define good system, invest into good processes, have knowledgeable people to do it, and expand audit in a big way. I think audit is a future opportunity. But this is something which is not going to go away. So this, I think, is an area which. So I would have played with all these cards if I was to get into it at this stage.
Okay, amazing. We have this question from Akshay, who says today's clients are attracted to how we market ourselves. the concept of virtual CFO is taking over a regular practicing CA. So, what's your take?
So trust me, marketing or presentation or putting yourself across is an important ingredient. It is part of the thing. I mean, there's an old English saying, first impressions are the last impression. It's a very boring, cliched old saying. But that's the truth. That's the truth. That's the way it works. And so you have to present yourself in a particular manner. That's all it does is open a door. You do a bad job and the door is closed permanently to never ever open again, try as you may. So marketing is only from a point of view of how you present your credentials and your ability ahead. No client is going to get over impressed by your suit or your tie or these things. I mean, I know a lot of people, fantastic accountants who may not speak English the kind I speak, but I bow to them because when they speak, the knowledge is astounding to me. Their accents may be out, but it doesn't matter. So trust me, there are clients who understand this. So don't get carried away with this marketing showbiz issue. Do what you believe in and market only to the extent that you present well and don't go beyond that. I think that, in my opinion, is good enough. You know, dwelling into this further, we can. I mean, how do you market and all is a question, but if you pick me up, I'll go there.
Okay. It would be great if you could elaborate a little bit because when I think of ASA, it has a very strong recall value, right? So when I think of ASA, I think of a firm that's progressive. That's the way I connect to it, and I'm sure I talk to a lot of people. They do have a sentiment attached to it. So, do you have a strategy in place, or is just good work that has produced outcomes like this?
No, it is good work, but the thing is, a brand recall value. So let's pick up a simple brand. Let's pick up market related Sony or FMCG goods, something like Colgate or something. What is the brand? What is the brand doing to you? It is only giving you a comfort. If I buy Sony, it's a great TV. It's not going to go bad. You don't pick it up because your neighbor has it and therefore I must have it. That Onida ad of earlier years, owner's pride, neighbor's envy, or something is it's not the main thing. Sony gives you the comfort. Why do you buy an Apple phone? Of course, there is this thing about you can show it, but it also gives you the comfort. It's very simple to use. And if you're using Colgate or something, it's a thing that my teeth are safe or whatever. Every brand is based on a factor that it causes reliability as the main emotion. It gives a trust factor. And that is what we aim for, that the people we work for, they should be able to feel. And that's our attempt. It starts from the people who are within our organization, they feel their careers are important to us. We are not using them as clogs in the machinery.
Yeah.
Their careers are important, their growth is important, their learning is important. This is a very important thing for me. It's my obsession. Day in and day out, I keep on looking at the processes which deal with people. And the second part is the people you deal with. This is your client delivery. Are you just looking at their pockets and are you treating them as ATM machines? Or are you looking them that this could get them in trouble and I must highlight it to him? It doesn't matter whether I get the job or not. Or even if it's going to reduce my work scope, but this is a shorter route. When you cause that feeling into the other person that he can rely on you, the brand recall value goes up because brand is nothing but a joint thinking process of many people. If you go somewhere and somebody says, I know AS, and the other person says, oh, I really think I can trust these guys. That's how brand builds up. It's nothing new to the brand. So it's about how you deal with people and cause them to feel that they
Yep.
can trust you. You're not going to pull a fast one.
Okay, amazing. And also, would you want to take this? No, that's a really great point. So there's no need to put yourself out there every time. And this today there's so much of FOMO. You have to be everywhere. But good work with a little bit of appearances here and there should balance it off. But good work is key.
True. Very
Ethics,
true. I can assure
ethics.
you. It works. It works till date. We may not be, you're very kind to say we are well known. I assure you, there are many CFOs I meet who say we have never heard of it, but it doesn't matter to me. Once you know us and once you get used to the way our partners have a personal touch, they keep on touch, they will go out of the way. Work is very important for us. People have they have difficulty to adjusting to anybody else. People who work with us, they go, they join the big four, and many a times they come back because they feel we just can't adjust to any other working environment. So it's a lot to do with how you deal with your people, not how you market to your people. Marketing has only a door opening value.
That's great. Akshay has another set of second half of the question. Says the concept of virtual CFO is taking over a regular practicing CA. So, what's your take on it?
Well, the practice itself must evolve. First of all, virtual CFO role uh, is a commoditized product. And the only thing which we bring value to the table is because now the CFOs are in short supply, and a client, and specifically in the mid segment and a small segment, needs good advice. So they are going to be, wanting these CFOs to CFO sort of a thing to help them. Now this is a one of the products. It's not going to take off your practice. You can decide that in your practice you're going to embed this, and you're going to hire retired CFOs to do it, or you're going to do a part of it yourself. But it's one of the products. You should treat it like a product. You should not be afraid that this is going to take over. Nothing can take over your practice. If your strength area is tax and your area is audit, play on that. But if you find somebody who's a retired CFO or somebody who is into this area more comfortable, take it on and offer it as a product. Practice areas are so differently spread that saying that something can take over your practice is means you're scared. And if you're scared, then don't be in the practice, because practice is a sort of a business. Keep on looking for changes and playing with ideas. Never stop. Till date, I'm playing with ideas.
That's amazing. Okay, we have this question from Sandeep. He says, "Hello, sir. I'm in a job since the last 15 years. I'm thinking to start a practice in a tier two city. Fearing will this idea work or not? Could not figure out step one. Okay, so what
So,
would you advise him? Yeah,
so I will quote from a very famous saint, one of my favorite saints on this planet, who was in my era. I don't know if you've heard about this saint. He used to say in Hindi, "Jo dar gaya, samjho mar gaya,"
yeah,
and that translates to whoever is scared is going to definitely die. And this was a saint called Gabbar, who from the movie Sholay. So I quote this very often. So I think first of all, if you want to get into practice, don't be worried. It's you are first of all, you are a CA. You're not going to starve. That's guaranteed. And if you don't experiment with your idea, you're going to starve your mind completely and your heart completely. You may not starve your stomach. So if Sandeep has this urge that he wants to get into practice, then he should jump into it with a clear idea of what I will do, what I want to do, whom I want to sell the idea, and what the way I'll expand, and jump into it. And jump with an intention of by burning your bridges behind this thing that I'll try it for 1.5 years, then I'll see this doesn't work. If you are scared, then get a partner who will take the fear out of you, and just jump into it. And trust me, uh, it is nothing more than that. So the step one is first deciding I'll go for it with a clear plan. That's the step one. And then jumping into it is the step two. Step three, the market will teach you, and you will teach me one day what is the difference in today's market. First thing is throw the fear factor away. You are a chartered accountant. You will not fail. That is guaranteed. The intelligence is bestowed upon you.
okay. Amazing. Cool. So, Sandeep, I hope that answers your question. We have this from Harsh. Harsh says, what is your perspective on private equity investments in professional service firms in India? Do you think this could trigger a consolidation wave among mid tier practices, and are PE firms well positioned to add value to the profession?
Well, one should, whether it's outside funding, whether it's private equity, it's debt, or even bringing a partner, it should be first defined what are you going to do with the money. If you're just going to take the money and put it into your pocket and give away a share, I think that's a bad idea for an entrepreneur. Because if you're building up value just to sell out, then well, that's a different ball game. I don't come from that mindset. So if you are planning to expand and you need the money, then comes the issue about how do you raise the money? Do you take loans, or do you go in for private equity? Private equity is a very different game altogether. It's very prevalent in US. I don't know how Asia, or for the matter, India, will bite it, because the regulatory aspects around a private equity to be dictated by a board and what you should do, because your whole entrepreneurial side goes for a toss. So it depends on how you want to play it. Now, if I know a bunch of young professionals who may have left a big four and starting an idea, and they've got high specialized skills and they're used to working in the corporate structure, they might say private equity is a great answer and we'll buy them back after 5 years. Is it wrong? No, it's right. And then there's another person who is just being very entrepreneurial, somebody of my age. For me, private equity, I would say, God, if I have to be guided, might as well sell out. So it depends on a business model. It should not be guided as a general stick. The other part of the question, do you think it will trigger off something? I don't think immediately, because I don't think Indian practices have yet understood the idea of a self-consolidation, put aside what to do with the money. So if self-consolidation can be the first step, private equity or debt or senior partners who are retiring from Big Four becoming partners on the side by buying shares could be the even better idea. I think there's a lot of room to play, but before I take in money from outside, I would rather experiment with what I have.
Okay, cool. So Ajay, I have this question, right? So if you're a CA firm, right, how do you transition and to a professional services firm? Like they're two different things. CA firm is a CA firm. Professional services is different. So when did you transition ASA into a professional services firm? Immediately, like how many years into the practice? And what is a professional services firm to a CA firm for those watching?
Yeah. So, in the wider sense, professional services firm, I mean, whether we are accountant or lawyers or architects, these are all professional services firm. I think what you're trying to say is, from a traditional
Yeah.
accounting
Yeah.
outlook, you move across where consultancy, M&A, other aspects, ESG, all starts digital starts playing a role.
Yeah.
And I think in a the way we transited was, like I told you, I was very clear about partnership. So I we had the traditional accounting partner who came in, tax was me, audit partner came in, and then as we went along, internal audit, risk advisory started coming into play. And then as we went along, due diligence, business advisory, helping foreign companies set up, like that, insolvency started coming in. So I think it took us about 15, 20 years to move into a multidisciplinary practice. And it is expanding as we go because new talent comes, client needs are different, regulatory requirements change. You can't do conflict work. And therefore, if you can't do conflict work, then the teams get over specialized in an area. You need different teams. So these things happen in a logical way, but in today's world, this will not happen in the logical step by step method. If somebody was to get into the profession, he will go, or he or she will go with the desire of breaking it down into what I will do and not do, the starting point, and what I will add right now. As I speak to you, I've been talking to a few younger professionals who have been telling me that they're going to carve out their attest function, or some are saying they were carving out our old commoditized product of accounting, and they're going to only focus on something to do with digital or ESG. And these are very highly specialized. The margins are very high. So some of them want to play on high margins. Some want to play on commoditized
Yep.
services where the you do volumes and you make out. So it can play both ways.
Amazing. Okay, great. We have this question from Shashank. He says, can an independent practitioner merge his existing practice with ASA? What is the main criteria for someone evaluating this option, especially for someone who's
So
keen in consulting? Yeah.
yeah. So when a firm like ASA or any other firm, or for the matter, the independent practitioner will also be looking at saying pulling in people. What do you look at? There are only two aspects you start with. Never look at what the other person's balance sheet or P&L looks. That's a given. But the most important thing to see is what are the skills which are coming on board and what is the client list which comes along. These are the criteria for bringing it in. If both are there, it is both are of high quality, that's fantastic. And then one can go around talking money and commercials. But even if one is there, that is also an important criteria to start talking about. And other factors like integrity, good to speak to, these are givens. Every professional is expected to be technically sound and have high integrity. That's a given. So that's not a boast. I have got integrity is a valueless commodity today. It's a given. It's expected. So only thing you should look at and we will look at is client list which comes in and what is the skill which come across. That's the starting point.
Okay. The next one is from Karthik. He says, "So when you're acquiring CA firms, how did you manage the amalgamation of work and team culture? Also, of course, the egos of the partners. Egos is in capital. They could be fixated with their names, legacy, etc."
Very nice question. It's a question we all practices deal with on a daily basis. First of all, when you look at a possible merger, the idea is not how you will benefit the other person. You must also find what are you going to benefit and implement it across. There are always some good ideas which are sitting on the just because today we have become 1,000 people doesn't mean I have the whole knowledge of the world has started sitting on my table. It doesn't. There are very knowledgeable people. Even a practitioner could tell me a tip which could change my perspective about practice management. So if you have got the ability to listen, you're already one step ahead of many. Amalgamating the culture and this thing, it's you should never try to do a merger in 2 or 1 months. Sometimes it can happen, but a merger process to understand each other, to visit each other, to make the partners talk to each other, make them see offices. It's a whole process. It'll take you anywhere from 6 months to 9 months. Anything less than that would be a quick shot in the arm, but it could fail. So, it should be a lot of dating going on before you take the big step. And then there should be a whole process. We have a whole process, written down process. I told you we are
Yeah.
very boringly SOP driven. For mergers, there's a whole process of all the activities which have to go. Our parameters for mergers are predefined on what are the administrative processes. How do we manage the possible clashes of ego which come in? We normally argue and discuss everything in 6 to 9 months as we progress slowly and systematically. We try to weed out the thorns. We try to express and we are very transparent and open about what can be given and what are the goalposts which are stuck, which we can't negotiate on. As far as egos concerned, with names and legacy are concerned, well, I can only say when you lead by example, it's easier. If I gave away my name and we created a firm and ASA and tomorrow it can change to something else and I'm not attached, it's very easy to explain. And the role I play in the firm, while I'm the managing partner, I don't confuse myself that I am the leader and everybody is secondary to me. I can organize, I'm strategic, I see growth patterns. This is my domain expertise. The partners listen to me from that viewpoint, but I don't confuse myself that I'm an expert on audit or something else also. That's another expert. So I don't step into their territory. And when we buy a firm and we acquire a firm in a different jurisdiction, the local things are left to the partner to run it. So what we don't do is, I don't try to profess I know everything and you are just a cog in the machine. No, every merger has a value to me and I identify it and I'll tell the other person, this is what you bring to me and it's very valuable. And then rules are also spread. So if you talk openly and you give honesty on the table and you don't try to act like you know everything, I think egos disappear. Egos come when you are yourself. Other person's ego is a reflection of my own ego. If I'm going to act haughty totty when discussing with someone, the other person is going to reciprocate in that manner. So I think that's my take on the whole thing.
Amazing. And that's something that even I needed. So that's a great perspective. Mazhar has this question. How much shares should generally be given to a new partner who's joining after 3 years from the date of starting my consulting company? I'm the only owner now, which is a great question, actually.
It's a great question, but the answer depends on who's coming. If today's date somebody was to join ASA with skills much better than mine, technically he might get more than me because one must be open to the idea that somebody knows it better than you. So if this person you are bringing in has skills which are far higher than you or equal to you, you could be talking 50-50. But in the question I read before me, I suspect we are talking about somebody who is either with him for some time, or it is somebody coming from outside. Now it really depends on what he brings. If you and you should spend time, Azhar, on this question. You should spend some time, because what a lot of Asians do in India specifically, we let go our good feelings and emotions guide our commercial decisions. Oh, you come, don't worry, we'll discuss the shares later. Oh, we'll do 50-50. And then one day you realize you've given him too much, or you've given him too less. So he fights, you've given him too much, and you get angry. Oh, he's not doing this. You spend time thinking, this is my clients. This is the job I do. How much work will he take away? Gives me the room to do more marketing. If what is the jobs he's going to bring? What is the skill set he carries? How much money revenue will grow in the next 3 years because of this coming together? When you do these maths, and he's a chartered accountant, I'm assuming, as he does this maths, he'll realize he'll get an answer to give away 5%, 10%, 15%, 25%, or 33%. It'll all start coming down. And remember, Mazhar, don't answer the question only based on the person you see in front of you. Once you're open to the idea, there'll be others coming. If you give somebody 25 and the next guy comes expecting 25, you might be left holding 10. So therefore, what parameters you set now must be thought through, why you're giving, what you're giving, and then what will be the definition ahead also. So, but be generous. Be generous if the person is good, even if you give slightly more, because by doing that, you will also buy into a long-term relationship, which could go places.
Amazing. This is amazing. We have this question from Ananta. He says, with changes that the government is making, is there a way that audits can be done of the past in the future years?
Of the
Okay.
past and futures, you haven't.
Even
I don't
I.
know what he's trying to say, because
Yeah.
audits done in done in the future of the past only.
Yeah.
I don't understand this question, honestly speaking.
Yeah. So Ananta, please reframe it. Sorry, we cannot. I cannot see you, but this is the big question, sir. I'm in practice in Nepal since the last 7 years. I've had privilege to work with ASA in 2010 as an article trainee, and I'm trying to implement everything I learned at ASA during my articleship days. After 7 years of practice, I'm not able to expand further to a new horizon, new practice. So I'm facing difficulties to find the right partner. So I think, what are the qualities? I guess you've addressed this question, right? What are the
Yeah,
qualities
yeah.
that?
I mean, there
Yeah.
is, yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, since he's worked with us, he can always drop me an email, fix up a call with me, and I'll guide him there. But the rules of the game are simple. If it's not expanding, you have got stuck into the commoditized services. Understand, either you expand the commodity and you go all out for that. Because when you're riding two horses, I'll do high-end work, I'll do commoditization also, I'll do it all by myself. It's not. It's going to fall.
Amazing. Okay, we have a couple of questions. Okay, we've got Shashank. He says, "What is your take on virtual CFOs being provided by CA firms? The idea of practicing CA sitting on the board of his clients, offering solutions as a consulting profession." Maybe the second half.
This is uh, this is a great opportunity because there's shortage. And remember, Shashank, I'll give you one tip about building up a sound practice. Always focus what is on short supply and where the skills lie. That's where the money is always going to be sitting. Now, yesterday everybody was talking about tax and tax litigation. Now with the government making his face less, very few matters getting stuck, refunds coming out. It's a commoditized product. Try to get a big fees out of the clients. The other day I was in Varanasi and I was telling somebody, and he started talking, and he was very inquisitive about our turnover. Of course, I was not telling him, but from hints he could pick up it was a large number. And his eyes were literally popping. He said, I give 4,000 rupees to my chartered accountant for audit, tax, and everything. And my eyes popped out also. So the idea is that never remain constant in a place, keep changing. So virtual CFO is a great area, Shashank, to experiment with, but learn to expand it. And the beauty is, a lot of people have this retirement policy of 60, 65 by letting talent go. And the beauty of life is, with medical advances, people are very mentally and physically agile till 75. Pick up these people, they are also dying to do something. Keep on expanding this service. So you don't have to go and sit every time yourself. These are wise people who can help you to expand your services.
Okay. We have a couple of questions, but I really want to ask you these questions, right? Because we've got 10 more minutes. What are the biggest challenges that you have faced in your journey? Okay. And what are those, and what are the challenges you face even today in your journey running a firm? So what is that?
I think handling a bunch of partners who are not related to me and coming from 19 different states, that I think remains my biggest challenge. Much as they are respecting to me and this thing, but
Yeah.
in order to balance, I'm a creature who likes to carry people along. I don't want to force people to do
Yeah.
things, and that's a personal challenge because when you have this nature and then you have these ideas bursting around you, this is one of the challenges. But in the past, I've had some very interesting challenges. Once we were running our offices, and we had offices in Delhi in Shapurjat, and suddenly MCD declared that all offices which are in non-commercial areas, and Shapurjat was technically one of that, will be shut down. So offices were shut down, and we had to run around setting up three, four offices. We were already 150 or 200 people then. So suddenly moving people around was a challenge. At the same time, the plug was pulled. One of our Bombay office partner, along with the team, decided to walk away. That also happened together. And these partners have been, and then at many times, partners whom you're close to, whom you've developed personal vibes, they will leave for reasons which are fair. There's no human nature doesn't mean somebody is right or wrong. It simply means something happens and it goes its direction. So without getting into the right and wrong, these are challenges. It'll happen to any practicing
Yeah.
professional because all you're selling is your time and your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Your ability to express your knowledge into simple words is what the client wants. And at some point, your partner will feel he could play better with a different idea because he feels that you're restricting him, and that's fine. He will do it. And these are the things which have been challenges. And all these challenges are fought with one simple step. I take my people into confidence. So the biggest challenge was the MCD problem. I mean, it was like a nightmare, and the Bombay going down, and one partner deciding to leave at the same time. That was the one of the big ones I faced. And only thing I did is I called everybody, told them that I am doing this. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is my possibility. But if you leave, I will not feel bad. But I'm telling you exactly what I'm doing, and I'm going to give you a report every week, and I'm going to run and try to sort these problems myself. So I was running, there were 5 locations we had created. Every day I would take a spin of the every office. We were just getting solid on Japan, so I took charge of Japan. I ran like mad, and people, they kind of believe because you have to get the belief back in because your own belief is shaken in yourself.
Yep.
So I played with that idea. And trust me, it is the most simple technique. You must learn to talk to your people in a transparent manner. Something I practice till date. It works very well. And we unnecessarily feel this hiding behind and doing information. Many of my partners complain that in my effort to be transparent, I can sometimes be over transparent, but so be it. I'm more comfortable with that than the other way around.
Amazing. I didn't expect this to happen, and this everyone goes through it, right? So the fact that you've been through it, handled it, shows that these ups and downs are a part and parcel, and you can still go through your way. That's great. Okay, so I want to understand this one part, right? Why Japan? You said you also say that on your website you all have 6 desks in international offices overseas,
True.
right? So can you tell me, like, how do you see the international market? Like, how do you foresee? Everybody wants to get international clients and serve international clients. The margins are better. At India, it's better. So can you just tell me how do you foresee it, and what opportunities can we tap on?
So remember, when you are reaching out to a client, a target client base, the
Yeah,
issue is you should very well define what you want. So just because everybody is chasing foreign clients, I wouldn't recommend any professional say, "Oh, let me also get because the margins are higher," because the
yeah,
skill you may carry may not match what they are doing. The skills we are carrying, foreign exchange, my starting training from Anderson, my
yeah,
international tax exposure, what I carried was very focused, could have given me them better results and given me better results. So we focused there. But international market, uh, today's date, first coming to domestic market, is very developed. The Indian companies, at least the bigger ones in the mid segments, are no more saying that, oh, we'll just pay you this much. You tell what you're going to do and you tell what you're going to save, and therefore what your fee will be. So the market dynamics are changing. So I don't disregard. I mean, my Indian client base has increased at a phenomenal pace, and I
Yeah.
think we add tremendous value with, service like forensic, which we are doing a huge amount of work for very large pharma companies and other companies. But you must define the area which you think is going to add value, and that I think is the starting point. Now, going to international clients, it's a money spending game. So if you think you got the skills and all, remember, it's not going to just happen by a visit or something. You must have a game plan to connect it in India. So let's say you want to work with Netherlands. Then what is the chamber out here? What are the people out here? Your interaction with the people out here. You're planning a visit, finding out which companies you can meet, the chap. So it's a two-way investment, and then you must have ground some boots on the ground. You just can't, today's date. Of course, we are very lucky that we are part of an international network, which is a fantastic Bakertilly. We have met the people, we have loved the people. It's a fantastic network, very people oriented. Now, with 706 countries covered and 42,000 people, 706 offices and 140 it's a just a perfect place for us to be. So now we have that advantage. You may not have it, but if you identify a one or two countries, you can choose a fellow professional there and start a smaller game to go with. But
Yeah.
you must have skills which attract those people.
Fair enough. So you basically study what will work. Like you chose Japan, France, Netherlands. So you're not following the crowd. You're really studying, seeing what you can deliver, what skills, and that's how that's how the strategy works for you. Because I've seen a lot
That's how
of
the strategy will.
yeah, because I don't know a lot of firms who are doing Japan since quite some time. And when I connected with you long time ago, I was like, oh wow, there's a firm which has a page in Japanese as well. That's ASA. So that's great. That could be another session itself because there are so many questions. I'll just take this question. Ankur says there has been a huge resource shortage of CA practitioners. So, what is your take on how CA firms can get good talent and once onboarded, how to keep them motivated? Pay raise is a given. So, long term
Yeah,
association.
yeah. I mean, I don't think talking pay raise will going to solve the problem, because whatever you raise,
Yep.
Big Four will raise it further, and the chain will continue. Big Four will take away my people. I will take small. This thing small will take single practitioner. So this will go on. Talent retention has to be more a people oriented story. You have to, what are you doing for the people? How are you ensuring their career growths? And in this game, you will lose talent, and you can't. For the next 2 3 years, this is going to remain as it is till the time the shortage is filled in. But what I can tell is that we are not looking adequately and openly. As chartered accountants, our ego should not get inflated that we are the only accounting, we are the only ones who have the accounting knowledge. Look around. You may be able to do with great graduates from good colleges. They may be able to fill some of the slots which you have. You must look at ICWAs. You must look at fellow professors in companies. You must look at the whole spectrum with an open mind. And that is the only way you can keep on filling the gap, because this mad race is going to be there for some time.
Yeah.
So, and the only way you can fill it is sometimes converting some to partners and all, but it's an endless thing. I mean, trust me, it's not his problem alone. When we sit down as managing partners of bigger firms, even at an internet, I'm going off to Beijing for a managing partner meeting. Trust me, this will be the main topic of discussion. It's everywhere the same topic.
Okay. You have to deal with it.
And that is
Okay.
also an opportunity. There's
Yeah.
also an opportunity because it's such an acute shortage outside in Americas and all. That's why they're willing to outsource to India.
Yes, true, true. I'll just take this last question because I know you have to head out. Ajay, Tarun says, from your rich experience, do you feel compliance issues for foreign companies has come down in the last 5 years?
It has, it's a very tricky question, because the issue is, while Some compliances have dropped here and there, but one thing is clearly coming out with the regulators pressing upon everybody, right from Indian regulators to foreign regulators to so many new acts which have come into play. Frankly, the CFO is spending a very huge amount of time into fulfilling compliance requirements because many of them do end up in prosecution. So the key management people are very worried about compliances now. And if you see the maximum digital products which are being created, which solve these compliance problems, which take away the manual interface where there's a risk of something. So you see the new ERP and all is all in that direction. So in my opinion, the compliance issues have not really gone down. On the contrary, the risk factor has gone up so much. Because earlier, let's say, to give you an example, if earlier there a director was there in a company and the director was, let's say, not very careful, the best he was getting is was a little slap on the wrist. Now what happens if something goes wrong? Notices come and prosecution starts against the director. Now, in that situation, the directors now want more internal audit by a particular company, only by the big four, only by such a company. So you see, like it or not, it has started sitting on us. And therefore, I think that whether it's foreign companies, Indian companies, well, it's an opportunity from my perspective, as long as somebody is willing to pay the numbers.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Tarun. So Ajay, I have this last closing. I want you to address this. Okay, what is your closing message? If I'm running a CA firm today, we're in the world of startups where companies become unicorns overnight. Literally, people are pumping in millions and millions of dollars, and when you start as a CA firm, growth is still slow. It is still slow, right? But as you say, there's a great scope to pick up to grow. So what is your advice? Like, if I want to start a CA firm or I'm running a CA firm, can I think really big? Can I think really big? Should I?
Yeah. See, it's end of the day, it's professional services. And just like if you go to Bollywood, everybody runs to Bollywood, there's a huge opportunity, but only there is one Shah Rukh Khan or one Salman Khan or somebody like that. So people in the profession who will do well will be a few, but that doesn't mean that the others can't play. But if you know your playing field and you expand within that, you'll be happy. Will all of us end up buying large cars and Rolls Royce and farmhouses? I doubt it. But you will be wealthy enough to do well in life. Number two, unlike your peers who will move to the industry, and unless you are as silly as I am, you could retire at 75, you could continue longer, you could build this thing. Because remember, as a professional, your retirement age is what you decide. You can, even my partners who have retired from the practice have gone and set up their own things and continue to be professionally active. And that's a different thing from a person who goes to the industry. So he may be earning faster at the initial pace, but then he stops at 60. And then you got the wicket still going on. And you'll be invited to board of directors and other places. So, there is an advantage to get into practice. Only choose your services offering and choose your partners well and choose your target audience well. And I would any day recommend the kick of a practice. You talked about startups and unicorns. Trust me, the kick of building up a practice and taking it places and joining hands with wonderful people. Believe me, my passion towards practice is as strong as it was when I started 32 years back. I wouldn't switch places for anything.
Amazing. That's great. But today, Ajay, a lot of people want to retire at 35, 40. So if they want to do that, do you say you can build like 1,000 crore CA practice in 15, 20 years, start at 20, 25, wrap up by 40? Do you think that's a possibility?
I mean, even if it's a possibility, one should exercise it because, like I said, medical advances are there. So, logically, unless some strange disease captures me, I'm going to sadly live up to some 90, 95 or some strange number like that. Many of us will going to live. Now, imagine 50 years of your life devoted to watching movies, plays, reading books, and traveling. I must confess, even the thought scares me. So I don't think anybody should plan such a retirement. Keep yourself mentally occupied. Otherwise, you're going to, what will you do with a mind which has been filled with so much knowledge? So I don't think so. I mean, I will I build up if I was to start, will I build up 1,000 crore practice? I don't know that part, but I would love to, and I would love to run for it, and I would keep running for it till that partners kick me out. So my answer is very simple. I enjoy the run. Bank balances growing is just a security wall for people who are scared. I would, if I had much more bank balance, I would invest into doing something more interesting in the practice. Take more risk as you go.
Amazing. That's great. Cool. So I guess that's our closing. We still have a couple of questions, but I'm really sorry it's because we don't have the time. But Ajay, I've got this idea. We should invite young CAs who are practicing mid-size, and we can have you and a couple of others in a round table discussing and sharing how they can build a practice, because I think that's what people really want, right? And that can't happen over
I,
40 minutes, 1 hour. So that would
I
be
would
great.
love to do it. It's my that is the only way I can return to the profession. So I'll be very happy to add my two bits into that group, and you can do it anytime, Chantal, anytime.
Done. Done. So I'll plan for this in the next 2 months and let's see how it goes. So Ajay, thank you so much for your time. I know you have to rush. So thanks a ton and thank you everyone who's joined in. And I'm sorry if I didn't take the questions, but you can send it to me and I will send it to Ajay. So whenever he gets the time, he can reply. So yeah, we could do that.
Thank you, Chantal. All the very best. Keep being
Thank you.
successful. I love to hear
Thank
your story sometimes also. I'll do an interview of yours one day now.
you. Done. Sounds good. We'll catch up in Delhi in 2 months. Definitely I'll get this happening. Done.
I look forward to that. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining.